Hi, I'm Phoenix, and today I would like to talk about a theory of mine. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Now, I have been reading a book by Peter Watson called The Modern Mind, and in this book, he describes the 20th century and the developments and accomplishments that have happened in the 20th century. And currently I'm reading about the early 20th century, and there is definitely a lot to take into account. But as I've been reading this book, I've been thinking about my life and the things that I've tried to accomplish with my life. And I've come to the conclusion that one purpose of life that you can discover for yourself is what I would call postulating a theory, to postulate something. So I'll give you an analogy of what I mean. In the early 20th century, you had many philosophers who were working with each other as well as diverging from each other. This would include philosophers such as Henry Bergson, as well as Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead. And the thing that is very interesting with thinking about these philosophers is that they were writing their books and theorizing about the world in a philosophical way, and this makes a lot of sense. But even though philosophy is a space that allows for the postulation of theories, it is not the only place in which that has happened. And so what is really interesting as I've been reading this book is the discovery of many areas in science, architecture, in different countries, in different fields and disciplines and places and ideas and temperaments, and the ways in which these ideas are basically theories being postulated. And I have come to believe that my purpose, among many other purposes that I may have, is to postulate a theory. Now, this is a very interesting question. What kind of theory do I want to postulate? And I would say that in my own life, part of what I hope to postulate is not just a theory, therefore something that I believe or something that I seek to prove, but also allowing my books to be my theory. The many books that I've written, as well as my other creative endeavors, such as my YouTube channel, where I talk about my ideas, and where I talk about ideas in literature, philosophy, science, and other fields. Now, the reason why I am choosing to express this idea is because even though I think there are many reasons why people exist, and there are many ways in which we can find meaning in life, one way in which I think we can find that meaning is exactly by expressing a theory of ours. And so I'll admit for myself, I'm still in the process of postulating that theory because I'm still living. But when we look at history, what have people managed to accomplish? And this is a very good question. And that's why I use the analogy of philosophers and scientists and other thinkers throughout the world in the 20th century to describe as an analogy and a concrete way this idea of postulating a theory. Now, the theory doesn't have to be dogmatic or even specific. It doesn't always have to be grounded, it can be abstract. This theory can be whatever you want it to be. But my hope of this theory, based off reading history and thinking about my own ideas and the things that I want to do with my writing as an example, is really to make the world better in some way. So we know that innovation in technology, in art, in science, in various things, has allowed for the world to be a better place. And I think that this is a very valuable thing. So I hope that my writing, my art, can make the world better in some way, even if it's just providing a little bit more hope, even if it's just entertaining people or getting people to think. I think that that is very valuable. And the reason why I find myself to be bound up with this idea of a theory and of postulating a theory is because it is something that I have really thought about. I know that it is easy in life to get caught up in the routine, in the grit, and to not really know what we are actually trying to express. Sometimes to not even have the ability to express that. And again, while I would say that it is very true that there are many ways that we can find meaning in life, a way that I continually think about this, and have thought about it lately, is by the idea that we can make the world better through postulating our theories. The theories themselves should definitely be creative. In the context of art, as I find myself within, it definitely can be a creative endeavor. So I'm not saying that we have to create new scientific principles, that we have to fit a specific idea of innovation. In fact, the point is to do it in such a way that we're not always bound by our limits, that we're not always bound by the limits of society and of our own psychologies and of ourselves, but there's a way in which we can be very creative, such as in the arts, and use our ideas to be able to cultivate something, to be able to make something. Now, I know that there are flaws with this idea, one of which is, again, that there are alternative values that people find to be the most important. And so innovation or change or even just trying something new is not always what people value, and this is understandable. So I would say that postulating a theory is not for everybody. But because I am a creative type, and because I very much care about the world in a variety of ways, I want to be like Henry Bergson or Albert Einstein in the case of science, or even architects of the 20th century, architects and scientists who are able to come up with these things, really a variety of people who were able to make something from nothing, basically. They were able to postulate an idea. They were able to make something for the world and in the world. And this they could do with art, of course, which would also include the visual arts. So, of course, Picasso is a good example of this. And basically, I think that this process has been happening all throughout history, not just the 20th century. And I think that that is important to keep in mind, because it seems to me that there is a lot of value that can be found in this approach to life. That the people that really help society move forward are people that are indeed very interested in change and growth and possibility. And I myself, who have always focused on the notion of infinity and of infinite potential, have definitely been thinking about this. What will my legacy be? What will be the impact of the words that I leave behind, of the life that I leave behind? What is it that I am trying to do? And there are definitely different values, and so people will find their way in life through other means. But at least for me, again, I wanted to focus on the things that I can contribute, the things that I can offer. Because I think the idea of postulating something, anything, is valuable for the way in which it shapes the world. And it is really remarkable to think about how the world really is competing theories, but also cooperating theories. It's a way of being creative with your ideas. It's a way of using a field that you might be interested in. For me, the case of art, specifically writing, but also music and philosophy. And it allows me to think about the world in a rich way, in a very beautiful way. And I think that there is a lot of value in this. So yeah, I would say don't give up. If you have a vision and you have something that you're trying to achieve, definitely think about your theory and think about what you want to leave behind and what you hope can be a living, breathing organism, your theory, that can change the world. I definitely think there is a lot of beauty in such an idea. And, with me thinking about the humdrum existence of my life, the grit, the monotony, it's very exciting to think that I can still break out of some of these limitations by way of my creativity, and that I hope to have many different values in life, but how this is definitely one of them. And yes, it will definitely be a pursuit. It will take time. It will feature a lot of sacrifice. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth it, and that doesn't mean that we can't create something beautiful by way of our theory, by way of what we postulate, by way of what we theorize, by way of what we write. And I certainly think that there is a lot of value in that. So yeah, I'm Phoenix. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Good luck with developing your theory.